Yes, hello and welcome Doctor Who fanatics. Yes, we are back to the Doctor Who DVD collection series. This is part 2, and personally this is going to be my favourite part because I'll be showcasing the Patrick Troughton era, and he is my favourite Doctor, as I said numerous times, but it does sadden me that some of his stories from his era are still missing. It would have been the stuff of dreams for some people to see these stories return, especially for me, and you know which story I'm possibly talking about. So let's start with the Patrick Troughton era. So let's start with his first story, which in my opinion is my favourite Dalek story, my favourite Patrick Troughton story, might be my favourite story of all time, haven't worked that out yet, but that is Power of the Daleks. In my opinion, is an absolute masterpiece. I love the story to absolute bits. Patrick Troughton is absolutely amazing in it, a bit of a clown but still has that seriousness to him, and the Daleks have a level of uniqueness in this. I just love the Daleks in this story. They're really threatening in this story, and they have a different sort of style in this story if you have listened to it, but it's great. Some of the best characters I've seen in any story, Lesterson, who's got a great role in this, and all the other characters do on top performances. I absolutely, you know how much I love this story because I keep talking about it so much. Yeah, it's my highly anticipated story to see recovered because it's Pat's first story and it's my favourite Doctor, and I just really want to see this story. That's all I can say, really. All I can do is hope, really, because I don't have it. The Highlanders. Now, the Highlanders, it's actually not bad, actually. A lot of people find it boring, but it's a good run around. It's quite enjoyable. It doesn't take itself too seriously. All it is really is the introduction of Jamie, which some people would like to see. I would personally like to see it as well. It's quite good on audio, and it is quite a good story as well. The Underwater Menace. Absolutely crap in my opinion. It has a very one-dimensional villain, which is Zaroff, which sometimes he stutters with his speech, and he fires a gun without flinching. So that's pretty damn cool, but it's not supposed to do that. The gun doesn't even move when he fires it. If you've seen the stories from part 3, even though it has a very famous quote in it, which people say it's an over-the-top quote. The monsters are absolutely crap. The characters aren't really good either. The set isn't really good at all. Acting, no. Probably just the main cast, really. I don't really like this story. It's probably the worst story I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, the DVD, the animation has been cancelled. We don't know if it's coming to DVD. It might get replaced by reconstruction. If you like telesnaps, I don't mind telesnaps. I can watch telesnaps, but a lot of people don't like telesnaps. The Moonbase, just spot on this story. I do find this story, it gets shadowed a lot by Tomb of the Cybermen. I do think this is one of my favourite Cyberman stories because it just shows how powerful and creepy the Cyberman stories really are. And Kid Peddler's Cybermen are just the best. Russell T Davies sort of took that element away from the new series, and then Stephen Moffat completely ruined them. I want you to be in the new series, but I doubt it will happen. But I love the classic Cybermen. They can completely destroy a Dalek to pieces and snap a Sontaran in half. That's always thought how powerful the Cybermen were back in their day. I always thought they were the best villains. The Macra Terror. Alright, I got something to say about the Macra Terror, really. It's not the best Patrick Troughton story, but I wouldn't consider it to be a TV story either. It's one of those stories which is just, it has to just be an audio story because I don't think it would suit to be a TV story. That's my personal opinion. Some people would like to see this story come back. I wouldn't be too fussed, but I'll still be like, oh yeah, it's back, I'll definitely watch it and get it for collection's sake, but it just suits more of a audio story, that's all I'm going to say. The crabs aren't good. They're creatures which don't move at all. It's quite atmospheric on audio, I would say, as well, but it's not my favourite. The Faceless Ones was one of my favourite stories of all time, about 5 years ago. and I did get the audio side of it since I loved it, but it has gone downhill a little bit, but still, the Faceless Ones is still a great story, which I do really enjoy. A load of people would wish that this one was recovered. It's quite underrated with some fans. Some fans don't appreciate it, but some do, so it gets it's a bit like Enemy of the World a little bit, because some people appreciate that, but some people didn't. Yeah, the lost stories do get really underrated, because they're not really appreciated, because no one likes audios. Not everyone likes audios or tally snaps, but yeah, if they find like 2 more episodes of this, at least it would possibly get animated or put tally snaps on it. But I think it would be a nice story to see. It's the departure of Ben and Polly, which I think are great companions. It's a great story, full of mystery, probably one of the best mystery stories. The Evil the Daleks, and now this is probably Christopher's best cover. It's full of life. Evil the Daleks, my word, it's a granddaddy story. I love it. It probably has my favourite cliffhanger of all time, and one of my favourite scenes. They see the Emperor Dalek, they see this tall, big Dalek, and it's just how the Patrick Troughton and the Doctor and Jamie react to it, and it's a massive surprise, one of the biggest surprises on TV history in my opinion. And that scene does not exist now. It was from episode 6's cliffhanger, which I would love to see. I would love to see this one recovered. I think everyone would like to see this one recovered. It's a classic which needs to be experienced. It's rated very well on DWM, but it can be rated better. Oh, as well, fantastic characters. I love the characters in that story. The Tomb of the Cybermen. Yep, this is a great Cyberman story. Maybe it goes over people's heads, but I still enjoy it. It's in one of my favourite seasons of all time, Season 5. I love Season 5 and Season 4. They're both great seasons. Tomb of the Cybermen is, full of mystery. Has a really good atmospheric feel at the start. I think it just goes a little downhill a little bit when it gets to 3 and 4. But still, it's a great story. I think this is a favourite of Matt Smith, so it got even more overhyped, but still, great story. Patrick Troughton's brilliant in it, and it's a great story from Revisitation's free box set. The Abominable Snowman. Yes, and Yeti look very evil in this cover art, but no, they're not. That's just Photoshop effects. Yeah, the Yeti are great in this story. I do enjoy the Abominable Snowman, but it suffers from the same thing that Enemy of the World had when it wasn't recovered, was only on audio. It just felt so visual, and I think Abominable Snowman suffers from the same thing during the middle, and it gets overshadowed a lot by the Web of Fear, because the Web of Fear is such a popular story. In this one, the Web of Fear kind of pushes this one away, and pushes this older brother away. Again, Abominable Snowman, great characters, and great filming location as well. The Ice Warriors. I don't like this story anymore, really. I don't like it. It's really long, boring, and it has a lot of problems with it. I probably will re-review it since so many opinions have changed for me. I've written a load of negatives of this, so I'm going to say more when I review it. The Ice Warriors' mouth, that when they talk it doesn't match with their mouth movement either. Victoria Waterfield is written very clumsy in a story, which I don't really like, a bit too clumsy, and the animation, come on, it's like child's colouring book, it's terrible. Probably the worst animation. The Enemy of the World, great story, Alicias Game appreciated now, because this was so underrated when this was only on audio, but at least it is getting appreciated. I think it's a great story. It's one of Patrick Troughton's unique stories. Not that it's just like a masterpiece, but he's doing 2 roles and it's great. He's great as Salamander. It's a great story. It's very talkative, and it does take the other characters out of the story, but I think they just wanted to focus on Patrick Troughton with this story. It's a great story. Highly recommend it. The Web of Fear. The Web of Fear is just an absolute fantastic story. Again, it suffers the same thing from the Abominable Snowman. Like, episode or 2, it gets downhill, and episode 5, it just loses a little bit. But still, it's a really atmospheric story. The Yeti are fantastic in this. They act more convincing, and they just act better. And they really do act with the background fantastically, and it's probably a story which really suits in black and white because of the London Underground feel to it. It's so atmospheric. And we come to another atmospheric story, Fury from the Deep, another one of my favourite Patrick Troughton stories in my opinion. So atmospheric. The monsters remind me a lot of the Krynoid, which I like the story even more, and it's a fantastic. You've got to get the TV soundtrack of this. It's just heart-beatingly good. I really enjoy it. I would love to see Fury from the Deep recovered. I think it's a fan favourite, that story. The Wheel in Space. This is the final of season 5, and to be honest, it didn't deserve to be in season 5 because it doesn't feel like a finale story. I think it should have gone into season 6. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, it's an enjoyable story. It's a good Cyberman story. It's not the best, but it's still good. Episode 3 and 6 exists on that. The Dominators, well, half and half really. I like it, but I don't like it. It just rattles on too long and it's really dull. The Quarks are quite good. It's alright. I can watch it. That's about it. The Mind Robber, another fan favourite from season 6, or Patrick Troughton's era entirely. Episodes 1, 2 and 3 I really enjoy, but then it just gets so silly in my opinion. 4 and 5 I don't really like, and it has gone a little downhill. Enemy of the World, this was ranked at number 10 on my Troughton list. Enemy of the World has pushed it away, so Enemy of the World's now number 10. It's a good story, but I think it goes over people's heads. The Invasion, classic. Love The Invasion. Great Cyberman story. As you know, I keep forgetting his name, but he plays a character called Tobias Vaughn. Absolutely fantastic character. One of my favourite actors in the Doctor Who. He's brilliant, and as well, units are in this story. I think this is an introduction. I don't think they were featured in the Web of Fear. Troughton's brilliant in this one. Brilliant story. Cyberman take quite a long time to be in it, but I still enjoy it. The Krotons. I like this story. Guilty pleasure of mine. I really do like this story. I don't consider it to be the worst story in the world. I like the Krotons. I like their voices. They're very menacing voices. Maybe they don't look menacing. They look like trash compactors walking about, or garbage bins. But yeah, I enjoy it. I gotta admit it. I know a lot of people hate that story, but I personally like it. The Seeds of Death. This is probably one of the Ice Warriors' best story. It's not one of my favourite Patrick Troughton stories, if I'm honest. Again, I think it rattles on too long. Bit like an Ice Warrior curse. I think that is an Ice Warrior curse. A lot of their stories rattle on too much. Not Cold War, but that story's alright. But Seeds of Death, it's a good story, but it's not one of my favourites anymore, since I've experienced more Patrick Troughton stories. The Space Pirates, Robert Holmes' Dark Horse. Robert Holmes' introduction was the Krotons, which I think was a good introduction. Not the best for a writer, but it's acceptable. The Space Pirates is known as Robert Holmes' Dark Horse story. We don't really like to think about this story when we think about Robert Holmes. It's alright. It's not the best. It's not the worst. I don't class it as the worst either. It's got potential, but I think it's so boring for people. It's just nothing really happens. And finally we have The War Games. Absolute fantastic story. I can watch it all in one go. I haven't watched this story in quite a while, so I will plan to watch it eventually soon. Great characters, greatly written, greatly directed, and just a fantastic Troughton story. A great ending to a Doctor. So, we have finally completed the Patrick Troughton era, and my arm is really aching carrying this camera, because I haven't had a break to pause it, but I will after this video. But anyway, next time I'll be going through the Jon Pertwee era, another one of my favourite Doctor. So, stay tuned for that.